precautions you use are different from one to the other. Even the protection strategies are very different. The objective of the emphasis on the different objectives of rehabilitation are different. So I really do not know how to do it. So what I'm going to show you instead, allow me to show you what we do in KRSMC instead. Okay, so this is just an overview. Do not take this as a protocol for treatment. Okay? That will come another day. I think there will you need a talk for each of the topics. Right? So this is just an overview. It's going to be more a photo journey, okay, to show you what we do for post-op patients in KRSMC. Okay, so anyway, that's KRSMC for you to see. That's our physio department, yeah? Okay, so what are the main areas of focus for rehabilitation post-op? These are the ones that you see on the slide. What we need to do in rehabilitation is to restore, returning the patient back to where they used to be. And the main target is to get at least 90% limb symmetry index. I'll be talking about limb symmetry index a lot, LSI. Okay, I've been mentioning that a lot. We want to achieve 90% of it before we actually kick the patient out of the department. Okay? Right? Now, let's go to, so in ankle, it's a bit different with, actually it's still with me is the same. You want a lot of change of direction, you want it to be multi-directional. These are the things that we want to emphasize on when we do rehab for the ankle, okay? What are the complications and what do you expect to get in trouble with the ankle? These are the ones. So we want to prevent this, of course, if we can. And we want to minimize this from happening. Right? So this is important for a physio to look at. You want to not end up with this kind of problems. Okay? So I saw Dr. Elston talk about all the phases, and phases are important, but here I'm just going to cut down to just 4 phases. And oops, sorry. Can I go back? Yeah. So I'm just going to cut down to just 4. Okay, and it's going to be each of these phases is going to be huge timelines. Okay, because if not, it's going to be too long, right? It's going to be huge timelines, okay? Why do we need these phases? You know, to be a good rehabilitationist, the main thing is you need to have a very good understanding of your load exposure. When do you attenuate the load? When do you do force generation kind of techniques? And at which milestone do you do that? Those criteria are very important. If you have a good understanding with that, you can play with the phases properly. Right, and you won't injure your patients, and you'll get your patients to progress well. So just remember these 4 phases. Okay, so let's go to phase 1. What is phase 1? I will consider phase 1 protection and healing. Okay, I put up to 6 weeks. It's going to be a bit hard to, like say, you know, you may have a case which you may start, the thing may be, you may at 2 weeks or 4 weeks, you start going into phase 2. Or sometimes as late as 12 weeks, right? So do not look at the timeline too rigidly, okay? So here in phase 1 is the protection and healing phase. So you be a little bit careful. And the acute rehab, the acute protection phase is usually about 2 weeks. That's the time in KRSMC we give the patient a little bit of a break. We don't push them too hard, okay? But after the 2nd week, we do start pushing them a lot more. Remember optimal loading, we start very early. There's always a push-pull factor between us. We work in a very multidisciplinary environment in KRSMC. So I'm talking about orthopedic, I'm talking about operations, so post-surgery. So we work with a very good, with Dr. Loh, a very good ankle and foot surgeon. And there's always this push-pull factor. I'm blessed because I work very closely with him and we discuss things with each other a lot. But there's always a matter of, I know your officers have this same annoyance. Sometimes you know you can start pushing, okay? Or I can of course create load without harming that structure. But sometimes the surgeon gets a little bit, stop, wait. Okay, but sometimes they have a reason to ask you to wait. So there's always this push-pull factor. So if you work closely with your surgeon, then you can progress very well. Okay, talk to your surgeon, discuss with him what you plan to do. And if he's open, he will then allow you to do it. And if he feels it's safe, he will allow you to do it. Okay? So that's why I say the milestone depends a lot on that. Huh? So early phase of rehab, of course, protection, we talked a lot about this, yeah, with the boot, the glass, with whatever not, right? So just go on to the next thing. Pain and swelling management, we do that only within the first phase mostly. Yeah, I still believe in ice. Okay. I really believe in compression. Compression is important for swelling. It helps a lot. Kinesia doping, I agree with Dr. Elston. It's not meant for holding something together. Okay. I may use it for some swelling, some bruising. It really helps to move things along. But apart from that, not really, okay? Tocos, active fetal motion, those are even more, they work better, okay? Scar management is important. Here, at this stage, we are talking mainly about avoiding infections, we are talking about preventing adhesions, and also we want to prevent any myofascial restriction. So, you'll be working on this in the early stage. All prevention, okay? Another thing about eyes and Asians, we have noticed that, I don't know if it's not proven, but Matsalis tend to have a lot less adhesions and fibrositis after operation. What men? With Asians, I find that you get a lot more scarring. A lot more scarring. Like I'm not talking about outside scarring, I'm talking about the joint, okay? Or even keloids and stuff like that, we tend to get it a lot more. So I honestly believe ice helps to reduce all that. Compression helps that and early mobilization of the scar helps it very much. Okay, so don't move away from that and think massage is no good. Okay, I'm not talking about massage. I'm talking about releasing the scar, moving the scar. Okay, right. Let's go. In the first stage, we put a lot of emphasis on more general and overall conditioning. So here we talked about the proximal muscles, anybody that's above the ankle, and also the ones that are distal. You need a lot of good hip, good hip strengthening exercises. You can start there. You need to give your patient a lot of, they decondition really fast in this phase. So find modified techniques to actually keep them strong and keep them moving all about. Yeah, especially if they're an athlete, you do not want them to lose their conditioning, right? So really push them, go ahead and push them. As long as you can do it in sitting, you can do it in the pool, you can put them on a brace and start, let them hit shuttlecocks, whatever. It's fine. Yeah? As long as they're standing quiet and they're hitting the shuttlecock, it's fine. Right? And of course, core stability is so important. Right? At that point, you can start working on them really, really early, as long as you don't catch out the ankle, right? And then foot intrinsic muscles, they are seated, you can do all the foot intrinsic and muscle exercises easily, okay? For localized strengthening, however, most of the time we start post, maybe after 2 weeks, right? And you always start with isometrics, and on the doctor's allowance, you can start with maybe band exercises in sitting first. So these are more localized strengthening, but we do this only in the early phase usually, because towards the end you're more interested in functional exercises than this kind of exercises. They're important, so start now when you can, and then in the later phase is when you go into function and adaptation, integration of adaptive exercises. Okay? Right? So anything else on the first phase? Range of motion wise, you're not so interested at that point, honestly. Okay? So most of the time, we are only allowed, I would prefer, or maybe I should say that, active range of motions. They get the patient to move themselves. You can use all these techniques to actually get them to move themselves. It's a lot safer than you pulling and pushing anything post off. Right? So active range of motion is actually not, this is in phase 1, not that important. Okay, so now just now I said, when do you go to the next phase is very important. What's important to know when to go to the next phase is knowing what's the milestone at that point. What is the patient able to accept at that point? Of course, with operation cases, surgical cases, you do need to have a little bit of input from the doctor. Okay? Is the ligament strong enough? Is the bone strong enough, maybe, right? But there's, again, some criteria that you have to follow, functional criteria that you have to be able to achieve before you go on to the next thing. So here, phase 1 going to phase 2 is very easy. Okay, usually once they hit about 50% body weight, we are considered in phase 2. At least the person can do weight bearing exercises. Okay? Now, phase 2 is more interesting. That's when you come into play quite a bit. So, in phase 2, what are we interested in? Right? In phase 2, by the way, it can be, you can start sometimes as late. We are allowed to start only as late as 12 weeks. But for some cases, we can actually start as early as 6 weeks. So it depends on the type of surgery it is. Alright? And what are we looking at in phase 2? Okay? In phase 2, this is when you want to establish functional healing methods. You want to get things back. You want to put special attention on the rocker system of the leg, right? You want to get all the motions in the ankle, in the talocrural joint, the heel, the forefoot, everything back into place. You want all those back so that you can get it. And then you do all this to ensure that you can go to the next phase to improve on their mobility and their training, right? And in this case, of course, you move from protection to off protection. So this is where all the mobilization starts. All the manual therapies that you do to loosen up things, making sure the range is coming back. You do all that here in phase 2. Okay? And you can, by now the scars are there, so there's no longer prevention of scars. Now you're working on the scars to loosen them all up. Okay? So all the manual therapy there. And here, passive stretching can be introduced. So they can do their own passive stretching, or you can, as a therapist, do passive stretching for them. Yeah? Then you want to start exercises in a standing position. Just remember that in this phase is a low level load functional exercise. Low load level. Okay, don't go too fast. Okay, and you work within your available range of motion. You don't force it through the range of motion while you are doing those exercises. Okay? You don't injure them. You split up your range of motion work with your strengthening work in phase 2, right? Safer. And in this phase, you may want to do only uniplanar motion. So either the sagittal plane motions, or some are allowed. You can do coronal plane motions, but try not to combine. It's not a good idea to combine. So you can understand, like for example, ankle stability case with post-op, you may want to avoid all the coronal plane work first, start with the sagittal plane work first, then later on, you can then start adding coronal plane work, then only you combine on multiplanar work. Okay? Great. So these are some of the exercises that we do in KSMC, as you can see. And of course, like I say, it's very important to work on the recessive muscles too. There are close change strengthening, hip dominant control exercises. Why is the hip important, you know, right? Okay, so for ankle instability, if your hip is unstable and you're reaching down, just most of the time you'll be ended up rotating this way. So if you're going to be rotating this way, you're putting a lot of force on the left side of your ankle. So of course it's easier to just turn it, right? So don't just look at your foot. Look at the hip, look at the core, look at the knee. Yeah? So you'll notice me keep on talking about hip dominant exercises too. Yeah, part of that. And these people, they have sprains and they have instability, they may have that thing already there. So you have to work on it. After the operation, they lose it even more. Okay? So talking about drills, after this is drills. From strengthening, we can start getting them to move. Okay? But when we talk about drills in phase 2, we are only talking about walking drills. No running, nothing yet. Not in phase 2. Okay? And you can start drills earlier. Okay? If the surgeon doesn't allow you to do it in the water. And so we do hydrotherapy quite a lot in KSMC. So you can do all the, you see like this guy is standing single leg in the water and then he's doing perturbation himself, he's throwing balls, right? So he's swimming around in the water and he's balancing on one foot, you know, or he can do even hops and all that in the water very early. He can do skates in the water. He can do squats in the water. Just now I said don't do active range of motion while doing strengthening. But in the water, weight bearing is actually very limited. Okay, so you can start early in the water. You can do jogging in the water because you do not want people to decondition, right? You want them to start, and you don't want them to lose confidence. One of the worst things is for athletes to lose confidence. The moment they lose confidence, I tell you, it's an uphill climb to gain it. I even have patients with us for 1 year. They can do all the drills beautifully for you, but they will not go back to play. You know, so don't let them lose confidence. Sometimes you can let them play in the water first. They can hop, they can jump, they can run around in the water. You see that's not that. They think, oh, I'm actually not so bad, isn't it? Yeah? Okay? So from all the water drills, you can go on to doing drills on land. Okay, you can start as low as just teaching them how to do a heel toe gate on a treadmill. To go on to do tandem standing, or heel walking, toe walking, stepping over, you know, hurdle, landing on different surfaces. Yeah, but remember, depending on your case, yeah, this is just examples, okay, of what we do. Okay, so you can, of course, with balance, then we go on to balance, right? With balance, you would want to have single leg stance to be able to stand single leg. Either with something to hold on to, and then eyes open, eyes closed, yeah, and then you add rocker boards. In this phase, again, uniplanar, so you would not use the wobble boards yet or the backs yet, right? Foams, depending on what cases you're using, but you can use the rocker board for now, yeah. Right, so you can do ball toss, walking forward, throwing balls. You can throw it at different timings. You'll be in front of the person or not. Oops, sorry. Not. Then you can do other external perturbations like you're getting the fellow to swing, to move. You can actually use your TheraBand, stand on one leg, use the TheraBand and just bounce it, right? So, sorry, get the direction. you actually unbalance yourself, all right? And you can also use it's not moving. Okay, never mind. You can use a ball. I tend to use the ball and bully our patient. You can use the ball and bully our patient. You can just click on the thing. I see whether the thing moves. Yeah, and you can just throw it against the fella. Yeah, and bully the fella. And no therapists were harmed in the position of the I didn't realize my therapist had a bit of ankle instability. You will notice him throughout. This is a therapist, by the way, okay? Throughout the video, some of it you'll see him falling over. I'll ask you all which ankle is involved, okay? So look up, yeah? Right? Hey, right? So, of course, you can add reaching, so you can do a lot of reaching forward, reaching towards the side, reaching towards whichever direction with the foot still in a stable position. Remember, you do not go over the inflatable ankle range of motion that you have. Right? Then, we do start SEVTs. As usual, we do it here. You can start doing it here because you already can have at least 50% body weight or more by the time. Right? We use the Y balance or reverse Y balance, we call it, which is actually SEVT. And we also use the FMS lower limb motor control, sliders for us to measure how far we go. Right? This is very useful. We actually also use this to actually stand on foams, you know, touch and reach with our legs, yeah, things like that. Yeah? So you can use it as a form of test or as a form of training. Okay, so that's it. Remember your surface variations, right? From just the floor to you can use a foam to being on a disco seat where it's all over all different directions. Okay, so remember I was talking about rocker boards to wobble boards too. Right? Localized strengthening. At this point in time, you're talking about dynamic strengthening. A lot of the strengthening that you do, please focus on eccentric load. right? So like you can see the guy doing that. Can you see how slow he's descending? Right? He's going up really fast to produce propulsion force, but then when he wants to do attenuation, he's slowed down, right? All right? And that brings us to the exit criteria. Okay, so at this point, you see the functional kinematics is so important. We want to get at least 80% ROM. 80%, yeah? Okay, by now. By the end of it, to go into stage 3, you want 80%. You want pain-free gait on all these surfaces. You want to have symmetry with single leg exercises as far as possible. And like you did, for single leg balance, you want at least 15 seconds by now. Okay? Now, and that brings us to phase 3. Now, phase 3 is the fun bit. Okay, by phase 3, most of the time our patients are by about 4 months. Some cases, however, they are only allowed to start this at about 6 months. Okay, very late. But most of the time it's about 4 months now. Okay? So in this phase, you are trying to expose the knee to more progressive program of impact. Now you're interested in impact. And you're interested in multi-plane stresses already. Here you actually want non-multi-plane stresses. You want to, because you want to prepare the patient for maximal intensity already by now, right? To go into stage 4 and multi-directional training. Right? So here, different directions, you can add different planes to the motion, and all these you want to aim to develop 2 things. Okay, these are the 2 things that you want now in stage 3, which is reactive stabilization and reactive force distribution mechanisms. Right? You're trying to get the body to be able to do these 2 things. And this is the phase for you to do it. So you're not talking about kinematics anymore, because by then you should have sorted it out. Okay? So, yeah, that's what I just said now. Improve reactive stabilization and reactive distribution mechanism. These are the 2 main aims. Okay? So, range of motion, by now, you are at 80%, so you just want to get the leftover bit. Okay, so you all know what to do, right? To get the leftover bit. Okay? Now, I'm more interested in the functional exercise. By now, you're going to go into multi-planar exercises. You're going to go into load and lift exercises. So you're combining loading, you're combining propulsion at the same time now. Okay? Then your hip dominant, you notice the hip, I'm still keeping it there even at stage 3. It's very important. Okay, look at the hip. Then your balance and focus active exercise, of course you can increase 100 now. So you can do multi-plane work. Okay, so you can use more rolling pins. You can go forward and sideways at the same time by now, so it's quite safe. Yeah. This is actually posterior tibialis exercises. Those are very important. Okay. Okay, so you can do from single plane to uniplanar, but one after the other, to combination doing quadrant in obliques, right? Alright? So he's starting with just stepping. Okay? You can do, of course, step ups and step downs are important. So you can increase the height, playing with the height. How are you increasing the height? Right? Yeah, forget anything? Okay. And you want to do what I say, load and lift exercises. You are now combining landing with propulsion. You know? So from just step up to using the wall, load and lift exercises, or some people call it triple extension exercises, right? Alright? To single leg triple extension. Right. So this one will get you, these are early for running. You're trying to get them into running after a while. And then you're playing with the hip. Can you see what happens if the hip is in the wrong place? Your foot is in the wrong place too. So it's very important to continue working on the hip, and we work on the hip quite often. Right? And of course, Balance and proprioception is very important again. So by this point, we'll be using overboard, we'll be using the backboard, we'll be doing a lot of throwing, we'll be doing a lot of reaching out to different angles, right? And use the dissociate. The opposite patients may be coming from a coronal plane now. You're throwing things against the wall and catching things against the wall on the side instead of in the sagittal plane. And you go to drills. Now, at this point, your drills, you can actually, this is where you actually truly work on your reactive stabilization and your force production. Okay? So, and this is what you're trying to do. These are the things which you want to think of when you're doing drills. You're thinking about landing. You're thinking about the different surfaces you want to propel from and you want to land on. Right? You want to think of plyometrics. Can you actually jump high enough, far enough, right? Land well, right? Inline force absorption. Can you change direction when you're propelling yourself upwards or down or sideways? What about follow through? Can you land and then change direction or do something else right after? Right? You're talking about acceleration. You're talking about deceleration. Can you stop in time without hurting yourself? You're talking about lateral drills and changes in direction. Okay, so this list is what we're looking at when we're doing drills. Yeah? So, for example, when you are training, you can use different surfaces. Like us, sometimes we use just a simple trampoline. A lot of the work we do, you notice we use very simple devices. Okay, sometimes, you teach a patient to do something that they can bring home with them is very useful. Okay, so just weight transfers on the trampoline. The further is landing on his foot, side to side, right? Then you may want to work on him landing forward landing, and then he goes on to land to the back, not moving, okay? And from there we move on to single leg hops, right? And single leg hops, right? And you want to talk about load tolerance, right? Can he land? Can he propel himself off an uneven ground, an uneven surface, and land on a flat surface and not lose his balance? And of course, you can see the different cones there. We usually shout out to the patient. We'll say, okay, 3 o'clock. Okay, jump on to 12 o'clock. Okay, jump towards 1 o'clock. So the person has to jump at the different cones. Or we can say green, blue, yellow, and then he has to jump. Okay, and land without losing. So he lands and sticks. Right? He has to stick at least 2 seconds if possible. Right? Right? And then from here we can go to different ranges, different planes and direction again. The quadrant test is actually useful. You look at how the patient lands and you will know at which quadrant are they actually weak at. Are they maybe the going forward and to the right they are hopeless. But going backwards and to the right, they are very good. But patient B, they may have a different problem. So you need to use the quadrant test, observe, and then work at your drills will be more, focused towards that they are weak at. Right? So and then you choose what drills to give them. So the quadrant test is quite easy, quite useful. And then from there, you're talking about propulsive force, you're going about how high the person can propel themselves up onto the... So you can see he's actually unstable on his right ankle, right? But he's very strong. Okay, so instability and strength, very different thing. Okay? And then we talk about landing. When we talk about landing, you need to start with maybe flat foot landing first. Then you move on to 4-foot landing. Right? How do you land when you do 4-foot landing? Are you stable? Yeah. So you see, his flat foot landing is worse than his 4-foot landing. It's very interesting. Okay. Then from different heights they land from the side, from the front, and so if you're doing a quadrant test, you know which one you're going to play with already. Okay. Right. And then single leg landing with the tire box. Right. And when we do acceleration and deceleration work. Okay, so what happens is we again call out, then we say green or red or whatever, and then he has to turn back. Or sometimes he goes there, he stops, he has to catch a ball, you know, or touch a cone or something like that. So it depends on what you want to do with them, right? Side shuffles, you can do forward, backwards, yeah? All these are drills. Okay, so follow throughs. So you want them to, you can combine things. Running combined with catching, running combined with turning, and things like that, all kinds of things. So you can even combine drills. Yeah? Why is it all not moving now? So you can add a ladder drill, combine it with, combine it with ladder drills, combine it with zigzag drills, change direction from forward to sideways, and then you change direction from a forward hop to a sideways hop to a hop onto an uneven surface, for example. Right? So you can combine things, and then again you're trying to create motion as much as possible, different types of motion as much as possible. Yeah? So at phase 3 you want to do that. Now in phase 3 there's a lot of functional testing involved. So it's by this point you're not doing range of motion testing and all that anymore. By this point you're doing functional testing. So these are the types of tests that you want to use. Now just now I talked about LSI, limb symmetry index. We want to get at least 90% and above before you can kick the patient out. So this is what we mean by LSI. Okay? So all these tests mainly we're comparing the good leg to the bad leg. Okay? So SCBT, a lot of people have talked about it. We use a lot of hop tests. Hop tests we do over a 6-inch barrier. Right? So you can use the different type of hop tests, 6 meters, jumping forward, right? Or you can do the total number of distance when you're hopping from one side to the other. Right? It's a crossover test. We like to use crossover tests. That's one of the better tests to use, yeah? And or the three hop tests and see how far the person can go. And those two are quite easy to use. And patients sometimes when you explain tests to them, they are a bit so you choose the easier one. Okay. Then you can, for hop test, you can use distance as a measurement, or you can use time hop. Time hops are also quite useful. You know their reaction time, you know that they can catch themselves very fast without losing their balance. Okay, so you just, for example, why is it not running? Just press and run here. So it's just an easy 40 centimeter side hop test, for example. He's just jumping from side to side, right? And how many can he do within stipulated amount of time? Or some hop tests actually the other way around. You say you want 10 hops. How much time does he need to finish his 10 hops? Okay. Then vertical jump test. See, that's for vertical propulsion forces. See how well they are. We do it very easily. We just take blue tag, touch the blue tag on one spot, take another blue tag, jump, press the blue tag into the wall. Yeah, and then we measure. Yeah. Then of course single leg hop test. We're jumping forward propulsion this time and seeing your strength. Okay, and we use a lot of the agility t-test, which I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with. Yeah, so you're running 10 yards to the front, 5 yards to one side, then go across to the other side, and then come back 5 yards again, and then return. So with agility t-test, to me, that one is like the do-all. Yeah? Why? Because with that one, you're already assessing the person's ability to change direction, because they're going one direction to the other. And then you're looking at acceleration, you're looking at deceleration, you're looking at lateral movements and forward movements. So to me, this is like gene test. And once you're able to do it, just go ahead and do it. Now, phase 4, very quickly. Wait, axis criteria, very important. Again, 90%. Okay, 90% is one you want to reach at least. Okay, you want 100% range of motion by then, 100%. Okay, single leg balance, 30 seconds. Yeah. By phase 4, now I say it's a multidisciplinary approach. By this point, in KSMC, we tend to then work with the trainers and the coaches quite a bit. Okay, the coaches will come in and start telling us what they find is a problem with the patient. The patient, what kind of problem the patient has when they're on the field, and sometimes we will then discuss with the trainers and say, okay, he mustn't do this yet because at this angle he's not that great yet. Okay, so a lot of talking with your coaches and your trainers are very important. So work together with them, right? So by this point, you want to get maximum concentric and eccentric lower strength. Okay, you want to definitely integrate all your sport activities into it. So if you are if the person is shuttler, if the person is a footballer, if the person is a basketballer, you need to integrate all of that, right? So if you're not going to allow this kind of motion where you land in this position, if you are a shuttler, you need that motion. So you're going to let the person do it safely, right? And get the person to be strong enough to be actually able to land in that position even, right? So this is the time for you to do it, and you can achieve that, you do it. If you progress in the correct way, because you know you're going to need it in there, right? Correct? So this is like I say, you work closely with the on-field team, and slowly you need to let go after a while. Okay? And I'm just going to add a few more precautions and emphasis for differing post-op cases, right? So for example, for chronic ankle instability procedures, we take more precautions with the coronal plane motion, okay? We emphasize, however, at the end of the day on multi-directional exercises, yeah, and all this, yeah, okay? For TA repairs, we are more interested, we are take more precaution on sagittal plane motions, okay? We keep the TA in a more shortened position. You have to be more careful with the weight bearing, yeah, to start off with. And this is what we put emphasis on when we do the rehab, okay? Then ankle chondrogenesis, we do a lot of drilling to produce new cartilage for people post-chondral loss, right? In KSMC. Here you must ensure when the chondrogenesis is occurring to put load in the correct spots where the cartilage is actually damaged. If you don't get them to the correct spots, cartilage is not going to grow. Okay, so we are interested in ensuring load at different spots in the ankle. Okay. Then for arthrodesis, it's just weight bearing, we have to be more careful, but range of motion also we have to be a bit more careful. The emphasis, however, is to retrain movement patterns, to retrain movement patterns. Because at this point, now you're going to have an ankle which is fused, right? So how you use your knee, how strong are your muscles at the top are very for ankle arthrodesis. Arthroscopies and ankle fractures are easy lah. The main precaution is usually weight bearing to start off with, and once they are ready for us to push them, we basically want to get the arthrokinematics right, alright, and then from there full speed ahead. Okay, just wait for the healing and then full speed ahead. Yeah, for arthroscopies and ankle fractures. Okay, and that's it. Thank you. Okay, any questions? It's all pictures, right? So that's okay? Good one? Okay. Alright. I know you all didn't understand what I talked about. You were too clear. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Delary. Okay, no questions. So I would like to have give the certificate of speaker to our speakers. I would like to